The deepest pain is not when someone leaves you. It is when they stay long enough to become part of your soul and then betray it. There is a strange kind of heartbreak nobody prepares you for. Not the loud kind, not the dramatic ending with slammed doors and final words, but the quiet betrayal, the one that changes the way you hear silence. Maybe you trusted someone with the most fragile parts of yourself. Maybe you believed their voice when they said, "I'll never hurt you." And maybe that is why it shattered you so completely when they did. But here is the question that keeps millions awake at night. Why does the heart still cling to the people who broke it? Why do we replay their laughter in empty rooms? Why do we miss the hands that let go of us? Why does love remain even after respect has died? Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And sometimes we cling to betrayal because letting go would force us to face the terrifying truth that the love we trusted was never what we believed it was. Tonight, this is not just a video about heartbreak. It is about the psychology of attachment, the philosophy of suffering, and the hidden reason human beings become emotionally addicted to people who wounded them. Because betrayal does not only break your heart, sometimes it rewrites your identity. Part 1. The moment betrayal changes you. Before betrayal, most people believe love is safety. You think love means protection, loyalty, presence. You think the person who knows your fears would never become the source of them. That is why betrayal feels different from ordinary pain. It does not simply hurt your emotions, it attacks your perception of reality itself. A stranger cannot truly betray you. Only someone you trusted can. And that is why the human brain reacts to betrayal almost like physical danger. Studies in psychology show emotional rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your body literally experiences heartbreak as injury. Suddenly, your chest feels heavy, your stomach tightens, sleep becomes war, even ordinary memories become dangerous places. You begin replaying conversations in your head like crime scenes. Did they ever really love me? Was I blind? And that is why the human brain reacts to betrayal almost like physical danger. Studies in psychology show emotional rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your body literally experiences heartbreak as injury. Suddenly, your chest feels heavy. Your stomach tightens. Sleep becomes war. Even ordinary memories become dangerous places. You begin replaying conversations in your head like crime scenes. Did they ever really love me? Was I blind? How long were they pretending? You begin questioning your instincts, your judgment, your worth. You wonder why you ignored the signs, why you stayed, why you defended someone who slowly destroyed your peace. And yet, despite all this pain, many people still miss the person who betrayed them. Why? Because the heart does not detach instantly from emotional investment. Love creates psychological roots. The mind may understand danger long before the soul accepts loss. That is why people sometimes cry for the same person they know they should escape. Not because they are weak, but because emotional attachment behaves more like withdrawal than logic. And the tragedy is this. Sometimes the person who betrayed you is still living inside your nervous system long after they are gone. Part 2. Why the heart still clings to those who hurt it. One of the most confusing experiences after betrayal is realizing that pain does not automatically kill love. In fact, sometimes betrayal strengthens emotional obsession, and that contradiction destroys people internally. Because logic says, leave, but the heart whispers, wait a little longer. You tell yourself you should hate them. Yet somehow, their memory still comforts you. Their voice still echoes in your quietest moments. You revisit old messages, old photographs, old promises, not because they still deserve your love, but because part of you cannot accept the death of what you believed was real. This is where psychology reveals something painful. Human beings do not attach only to people. They attach to emotional patterns. If someone gave you intense affection, attention, validation, and emotional intimacy, your brain recorded them as a source of emotional survival. And when that source disappears suddenly, your nervous system panics. The body interprets abandonment almost like starvation. That is why toxic love can become addictive. The moments of affection become emotional rewards. The betrayal becomes emotional deprivation. And your mind enters a cycle of craving the same person who caused the wound. Carl Jung believed that unresolved emotional pain often traps people inside unconscious patterns. Many betrayed people are not only grieving the relationship, they are grieving the fantasy they built around it, the future they imagined, the life they planned, the safety they thought they had finally found, and so they cling, not always to the person, but to the dream. This is why people stay emotionally attached even after humiliation, even after lies, even after disrespect, because letting go means accepting a horrifying truth. Maybe the love I fought for never truly existed the way I imagined it. That realization can feel more painful than betrayal itself. So instead, the heart bargains. Maybe they will change. Maybe they were confused. Maybe if I loved harder, but love cannot heal someone who is committed to hurting you. And this is where many souls become trapped for years, confusing emotional attachment with destiny. The Buddha once taught that attachment is the root of suffering, not love itself, attachment. Because attachment says, I cannot survive without this person. Real love does not destroy your dignity. Real love does not make you abandon yourself to keep someone else. Yet betrayal has a strange power. It makes people chase closure from the very hands that wounded them, and that is like asking the knife to explain the pain of the cut. Eventually, every betrayed person reaches a crossroads, continue worshipping the memory, or finally face reality. Because healing begins the moment you stop romanticizing what broke you. Part 3. The dangerous illusion that keeps people emotionally trapped after betrayal. There comes a moment after betrayal when the pain changes shape. At first, it feels like grief, raw, violent, uncontrollable, but later, it becomes something quieter and far more dangerous. Illusion. You start remembering only the beautiful parts, the late-night conversations, the laughter, the way they once looked at you like you mattered. And slowly, the mind begins editing reality. It removes the manipulation, it softens the disrespect, it excuses the betrayal. Because human beings have a psychological tendency to protect emotional investment. The more time, loyalty, and love you poured into someone, the harder it becomes to accept that they were capable of deeply wounding you. So the mind creates stories to survive. Maybe they were damaged. Maybe they were afraid. Maybe I expected too much. But sometimes the truth is painfully simple. They knew your heart and still chose to break it. That truth is unbearable for many people because it destroys the illusion that love automatically creates loyalty. It does not. A person can love your presence and still lack the maturity to protect your soul. And this is where many people lose themselves. They become addicted to potential instead of reality. They fall in love with who someone could become instead of accepting who they consistently are. The philosopher Albert Camus once wrote, "Life is the sum of all your choices." And betrayal often reveals a terrifying reality. Some people repeatedly choose themselves even when it destroys you. But the emotionally trapped mind resists this truth. Why? Because acceptance feels like death. Accepting betrayal means mourning not only a person, but an entire imagined future. The wedding that never happened, the peaceful mornings that never came, the version of life you secretly built in your heart. And so people stay emotionally connected to ghosts. They wait for apologies that never arrive. They replay memories like sacred rituals. They stalk social media, searching for proof they were meaningful, not realizing they are reopening their own wounds every single day. Sun Tzu once said, "If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." And betrayal teaches one brutal lesson. Sometimes the greatest danger is not the other person. It is your refusal to let go of the illusion. Because illusions are seductive, they allow you to postpone grief. They let you believe that one message, one apology, one miracle could suddenly repair everything. But healing does not begin when they return. Healing begins when you finally stop waiting. The moment you stop needing them to become who they promised to be, you reclaim your freedom. And that is terrifying, because now, for the first time, you must face yourself without the distraction of chasing someone else's love. Part 4. How betrayal becomes the beginning of your transformation. There is a moment in every healing journey that feels almost invisible. No dramatic breakthrough, no cinematic ending, just a quiet realization, one ordinary day. They no longer control my emotions the way they once did, and that is when transformation begins, not when the memories disappear, not when the pain completely leaves, but when your identity stops revolving around the wound. Because betrayal changes people in two possible ways. It can make you colder, or it can make you wiser. Many people choose bitterness without realizing it. They build emotional walls so high that nobody can reach them again. They convince themselves detachment is strength. They stop trusting, stop opening up, stop risking love. But a closed heart is not a healed heart. Real healing is different. It is learning how to love without abandoning yourself. It is developing discernment instead of paranoia. It is understanding that someone else's betrayal is not proof that you were unworthy of love. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That is the lesson betrayal eventually teaches. You cannot control who lies to you. You cannot control who leaves. You cannot force loyalty from emotionally immature people. But you can decide whether their actions will destroy your future identity. And strangely enough, many people discover their strongest version of themselves only after their heart has been shattered. Because pain strips illusions away. It forces you to confront your deepest fears: abandonment, loneliness, rejection, self-worth. And once you survive those fears, something extraordinary happens. You stop begging for love that costs your peace. You begin recognizing red flags instead of romanticizing them. You stop confusing emotional chaos with passion. You understand that consistency is more romantic than intensity. And perhaps most importantly, you realize betrayal was never the end of your story. It was the moment your soul demanded evolution. The people who hurt you may never apologize. They may never understand the damage they caused. They may move on as if nothing happened. But your healing was never supposed to depend on their awareness, because closure is not always something another person gives you. Sometimes closure is the moment you finally say, "I deserved better than what I kept tolerating." And suddenly, the attachment weakens. Not because you stopped loving them overnight, but because you finally started loving yourself more. That is the paradox of heartbreak. The same pain that once made you feel broken can eventually become the reason you awaken. So, if you are listening to this tonight while carrying the weight of betrayal in silence, remember this. The fact that your heart still loves deeply after being wounded is not weakness. It is proof that darkness did not destroy your humanity. And one day, someone will meet the healed version of you and wonder how a soul that suffered so deeply still learned how to love so beautifully. Until then, do not rush your healing. Do not romanticize your suffering. And do not chase people who were comfortable losing you, because some chapters hurt when they end, but they become poison when they never do. If this video spoke to a part of you that has been hurting quietly, let this be the moment you stop carrying betrayal like a life sentence. Sometimes losing the wrong person is the first step toward finding yourself again. And maybe the greatest revenge is not hatred. Maybe it is becoming someone so whole that the pain no longer defines you. So tonight, ask yourself honestly, are you still holding on to love, or are you holding on to the fear of letting go? If this message resonated with your soul, leave a comment with the word healing. Because healing begins the moment the truth becomes stronger than the illusion.